Alright lads, my name is the Meta Goblin and today I'm going through another class origin lore video. In this edition we are going over the Paladin. Now this will involve where the Paladin's power originally comes from and how each race has access to that power and how the class has had a major role in the overall World of Warcraft lore. At the start of each of these videos I'm going to basically tell you which is the most lore correct race and class combination, but also the first of that class. So the first ever paladin within the lore of World of Warcraft is Uther the Lightbringer. Okay, and the most lore correct combination would most definitely be human paladin. That was the first ever one that came about. So let's jump into the video. It isn't a coincidence that paladins have similar sounding abilities and specializations as priests. Okay, you know, you got Holy Paladin, Holy Priest, you got Holy Light, you've got other similar things. It's because the power of the Paladin came from the priests. What basically was happening in a second war is Stormwind got completely obliterated by the Orc clans of the Horde. And Archbishop Fail, or however the hell you say that, he basically realised that we are going to need more power, okay? We're going to need something to counteract the Orc Warlocks and whatever the hell else they had at the time. So what they decided to do was combine the skills, the art, the craft of the warrior with the skill of the priest, okay? And this is also why Paladin have a protection spec, is because they were originally warriors. Now Archbishop's Fails, or however the hell you say that name, his pupil and the person he advised in war was actually Uther the Lightbringer himself, and he asked Uther if he wanted to invest in this program, this idea that why don't we combine the skill, the worship of the light that the priests have with the skills of a warrior to create a paladin. And after that they had a group or an order, and they called it the Knights of the Silver Hand. So a few warriors were trained in the arts of the light and they became paladins, and they completely obliterated the invading Orc Horde and won the second war. At the start of the third war, however, things went a little bit nasty. Now, paladins are extremely powerful fighting the scourge and the undead forces because they're completely immune to all the diseases and all that kind of thing. But when they went to Stratholme, because Stratholme had been infected with the plague, as you know from that the instance, the Caverns of Time, calling of Stratholme, basically Arthas ordered the Knights of the Silver Hand to completely purge the city, and Uther completely refused to do it because it was obviously mass slaughter and it was quite an inhuman thing to do. And what Arthas basically did is he got so pissed at them that he completely disbanded the Knights of the Silver Hand, and the Paladins were like, they were no more, basically, as they were no longer an organised association. And then, unfortunately, Uther is actually killed while he is cremating Arthas's father, Tyrannus, and basically while they're cremating his body, Uther has this magical urn, and Arthas wants to steal the urn for necromantic purposes and basically kills Uther in the process. It's just quite sad. But you can actually go and visit Uther's tomb within the game. Now, following the third war, the paladins, at this point, they are at risk of complete extinction. But fortunately, some of them, after the Third War, created new kind of cults, new orders. One being the Scarlet Crusade, who were like the most extreme cult of paladins, and the other was the Argent Dawn, who were a bit less insane. And the thing is about the Scarlet Crusade is they only recruit humans. I'm pretty sure they don't even recruit dwarves or anything like that, just humans. And the Argent Dawn employs other races of the realm, even the Forsaken. So the Scarlet Crusade are a bit crazy, a bit fanatic, and the Argent Dawn are just a little bit more friendly. That's all you really need to understand. The Knights of the Silver Hand do actually reform, and they become based in the Cathedral of Light. If you go there, they'll be there within Stormwind. And they got stuff going again. You know, their society got going, and they also passed on their holy light knowledge to the dwarves, and so that's how the dwarves become paladins within the game at the time that, you know, the World Warcraft vanilla was released. The Knights of the Silver Hand later actually merged with the Argent Dawn, not the Scarlet Crusade, to basically for you know, when the whole stuff was going on, the Ice Crown and defeating the Lich King, and they formed the Argent Crusade. So that's why you have, you know, Argent Dawn, Scarlet Crusade, and Argent Crusade, is because the Knights of the Silver Hand bonded with the Argent Dawn and created a new cult, the Argent Crusade, which is just a temp kind of cult thing, a temp allegiance to beat the shit out of Arthas, you know, and get some well-earned revenge from Uther's death, and, you know, all the other horrible things he's done to the Alliance and the Horde, I guess, as well. So you're probably also thinking, you know, how the hell did the Draenei become paladins and gain access to the power of the light? I suppose you could actually argue that the Draenei were the first paladins, because they gained access to the light's power kind of at the same, I can't really work it out in my head, you know, at the same time as the humans did, but really in the lore, in terms of when it was actually created, the paladin humans were the first people. But the Draenei, basically, the Draenei come from a planet called Argus, and they originally called the Eredar. Now, the three leaders of the Eredar were Archimond, however you say it, Kil'jaeden, and Velen. Now, basically, Sargeras, the big bad Burning Legion Titan guy, came over to Argus and said, you know, hey, come and join my dark side, we've got cookies, all that kind of thing. And Kil'jaeden and Archimond joined Sargeras, but Velen was like not having any of it. He saw that, you know, that they were complete, utter sheer evil, didn't want any part of it, and he prayed that something could help him. And then suddenly the Naru, who are these sentient beings, or however you want to describe them, they came out of nowhere with a spaceship called the Exodore, and they, you know, the Draenei, Velen and his followers jumped onto the Exodore, renamed themselves to the Draenei, and jumped on the Exodore and flew into Draenor, and that's why, you know, you got Draenei hanging around Draenor in the game at the moment. Now, the Naru, for some reason, they have the power of the light, and they kind of gave their power of the light to the Draenei, and that's how the Draenei get their power. It's basically from the Naru. Now, how the Blood Elves got the power of the light is it's actually a little disturbing, and I really feel sorry for one of the characters involved in it. But yeah, let's go into it. Basically, the Blood Elves, you know, Kel'Thas Sunstrider, they completely sacked Tempest Keep. Now, Tempest Keep, if you look closely, looks a lot like the Exodore. That is no coincidence. The Tempest Keep is also a spaceship created by the Naru. Now, when they sack it, when they invade it, one Naru stays behind. He sacrifices himself to operate Tempest Keep in his defences to fight the Blood Elves off, but he completely fails, unfortunately, and he gets abducted by the Blood Elves. The Blood Elves take this fella's called Maru, so that's the Naru's name. They take Maru, the Naru, and they take him back to Silvermoon City, and they basically you know, they imprison him and drain his light power, and henceforth the Blood Knights, the Blood Elf Paladins, were created. So they're essentially draining Maru's power from him, you know, by sheer force. He's actually later here, Kel'Thas Sunstrider, you know, when he goes a bit evil and a bit distant from the current Blood Elves, he actually invades Silvermoon and takes him back. He takes Maru back, and he uses him to ignite the Sunwell. The Naru are very, very powerful mystical beings, and they have a lot of, like, you know, power, a lot of magical power. And, you know, Kel'Thas uses him to get the Sunwell going. He's actually a boss within the raid. And during the encounter becomes known as Entropius, which is like a void form, like a void walker, and it kind of shows how much the Blood Knights like fucked him up by draining all his power. And I really feel sorry for the bloke, you know. Obviously he's not a bloke, and obviously we kill him when we have to kill him in the game, and I feel really sorry for him. I can't help but feel sorry for him for some reason. But anyway, Velen uses Maru's his power to then ignite the Sunwell and give the Blood Elves power from the Sunwell again. So, because of, Blood Elves are obsessed with gaining power, and basically Velander sorted all that by giving them back to Sunwell, and jobs are good in that at the end of patch 6.4, the Sunwell patch. Now, Tauren Paladin, you may think it's like a completely misleading thing, like it shouldn't have ever happened, but there is actual quite precise and viable lore within World of Warcraft that it kind of gives evidence that the Tauren could become paladins. Basically, the Taurens in their mythology and in their religion, they worship the Earthmother. Okay, the Earthmother is basically some big thing, some deity, if you want to call it, some kind of god who the Taurens worship. Now, they specifically worship her right and left eye, which are also known as Anshi, her right eye, also known as the sun, and Musha, the left eye, which is known as the moon. So it really comes from the fact that you have to understand that the Night Elves gave the Tauren their druid powers. Okay, they live quite close together, and they kind of collaborated, and the Night Elves gave them the art of the druid. But what the Night Elves do, you see this association. They worship the moon quite a lot. The Earthmother's left eye. They really like the moon. Okay, and the druids, as you know from all the abilities, what is it, moon, fire, all that kind of thing, it's all about the moon. But also, if you look very closely, to balance druids' abilities, there's also abilities which are associated with the sun. Okay, you've got like wrath and whatever the hell the other one is called. But druid have that thing, that system, the eclipse system, and it's a moon and a sun. Okay, that isn't a coincidence. And basically, a Tauren basically said, why don't we worship Anshi enough? Why don't we worship the right eye, the sun? They decided, let's go ahead and do that. And henceforth, because they worship the light of the sun, they are granted access to the power of the light, and they can then become paladins because they have the power of the light from the Earthmother's right eye, Anshi, basically. Alright lads, that is pretty much it. Okay, that is how the Paladin class has been implemented into the lore of the game. Basically what I want you to do is I want you to leave a suggestion within the comment section of the next class you want featured in this series, and I'll definitely get onto it very soon. We've already done Death Knights, and Warlocks are pretty similar, but I'll still make a video on Warlocks if you want it. So anyway, my name is the Meta Goblin, and until my next video, ciao!